Hey people, just want to say a few words on Chris Rock, the comedian Chris Rock, and Will Smith, because almost a year on from the now infamous incident at the Oscars, still being dredged up. Um, Not long ago, I heard this. I saw a report saying that the Academy Awards are going to put a special operation in place to make sure such an incident doesn't happen again. I have to say, I feel the whole thing has been hugely blown out of proportion. I'm not saying it's a small thing. What ultimately happened was a live assault, and it's bad. But I've always felt that the whole thing has been overblown. I mean, basically, the gist of it is that Rock told a joke that was provocative. Some say it was a harmless joke. I think it was a little bit mean-spirited because it was aimed at Jada Pinkett Smith's alopecia issue. I always think it's a bit mean-spirited to get into ad hominem attacks on people and use that as humor, but that's my opinion. But anyway, we all know what happened. Will Smith lost his temper. There's even questions over whether it was sincere or not, whether it was all. Some even believe this was all a big stunt for ratings. I don't think it is. I think it really did happen. I mean, and then of course we know what happened. Smith got up and slapped Rock very hard, and then got into a rant about not joking about his wife. And then of course there was a big fallout. Smith had to make a public apology about rebuking violence and how he was wrong to do what he done. And the Academy um, gave quite a harsh. Initially, they were accused of being too soft on him. Then he got a 10-year ban, as I understand, which is it's actually quite rigid. Um, but a year on, Chris Rock is still joking about this incident. So he's just had an act where he's saying he took it like Manny Pacquiao. In other words, he could take the assault. And he used to love Will Smith. But yeah, I didn't watch the act because I'm not into his humor. But it seems to me that far from being classy, he's just drawing this out. And he says he's not a victim, he's not going to go on to Oprah, which is an obvious swipe at Harry and Meghan. Um, but he's choosing to resurface this whole thing and bring it up again. I have to say, and I appreciate not everyone would agree with me on this, but is Will Smith going to have to pay for this for the rest of his life? I mean, I think it's what more is he supposed to do? He's publicly apologized. It was a reckless and unjustified thing. I don't condone it for a second. It's not a proportionate response assaulting someone because of a joke, even if the joke is mean-spirited. Um, but there's a few things I want to mention about this. Firstly, I really have a problem with people who say it's just a joke or it's have a sense of humor. Humor is extremely subjective, and you can't force your humor onto other people. And like I say, I don't like cruel humor. I just don't. This is not to say that I think Jada Pinkett Smith is completely innocent. I mean, apparently she was behind the big Oscars so white thing a few years ago. Now, I have my views on woke politics and I don't like it. And it may well be that she is quite manipulative and cynical person. Maybe that's true. Rock has said for his part that he was the host that year, so he took that personally. Okay, so maybe there is more to this. Maybe there's a little bit of personal history between him and Jada Pinkett Smith. But I have a big problem with this idea that comedians can just hide behind humor and say anything goes. And if you don't like it, then you're somehow against free speech. Now, what Will Smith done obviously went too far. But this idea that people should just force laughter because something's called comedy, I have to say, if someone that I cared about had some medical issue and a comedian used that to attack them, I wouldn't be laughing. I wouldn't find it funny. So all those people judging her and Will Smith for not finding it funny, I think ask yourselves, would you laugh it off? I just don't like this way that comedy is forced on people. And if you don't like it, you're somehow against free speech. Um, And I do question Rock's motivations. Why is he dredging this up now? He says he's not a victim. Why is he bringing it up? Why hasn't he moved on? There's no permanent damage from what I understand. He didn't require hospital treatment or anything. Um, it was crass what Smith done. It was thuggish. It was wrong, but he immediately apologized. Um, I just think the whole thing's blown out of proportion, and I think that I don't have a good impression from Chris Rock for dragging this out. I mean, why isn't he move on by this point? Because he didn't press charges. Now that indicated that he. Why did he not press charges? You know, um, there's a few questions about this whole thing. Why did he not press charges? If he felt that Smith was out of line, why did he not press charges? Um, so now a year on, he's dredging this up again for humor. I think it's cynical. And there'll be people who say, "Oh, he's a legend. He's getting his own back and all the rest of it." But my question is, how long does Will Smith have to be punished over this? I mean, the guy made a mistake. It was a crass and wrong thing to do, and it's right that he faced consequences for it. But my goodness, he got 10 years ban, and he's basically vilified now whatever he says or does. I think it's disproportionate, quite frankly. Um, so that's my take on it. I appreciate people will disagree, but I mean, Will Smith has apologized. What more is he supposed to do? And is Chris Rock, going to keep dredging this thing up in all his acts? Is he going to rely on it now for his humor? I mean, does he not have any other material? That's my question.